Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. I'm your host, Robin L. Owens, PhD, and this is where we dive in each week to give advice, tools, and tips for high-achieving women leaders, and we talk about leadership purpose and its importance for you. I am a college professor, and when I am not doing that, I am speaking, writing, coaching, mentoring, and teaching high-achieving women leaders how to find, and not only find, but how to stay in alignment with their leadership purpose so they can make a meaningful difference right there in their career, leadership, or business. Okay, let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm so glad you're here and that you take time out of your busy day, your busy schedule in life to listen into the podcast. And today I am talking with Michele Molitor. Michele Molitor. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Michele. She's the founder and CEO of Nectar Consulting, Inc. And she's a co-author of the best-selling book, Breakthrough Healing. She works with executives and entrepreneurs, and she brings 25 years of experience to her work, helping them with their success. She is an expert at enhancing the capacity of leaders. Ooh, I can't wait to hear more about that. And she uses her unique rapid rewiring approach. And this comes from years of experience, and I can't wait to hear more about that too. But let me just say this last thing before we let her speak. She helps you shift your thinking and eliminate mental and emotional blocks to rapidly rewire your brain for more confidence and success. Welcome, Michele Molitor.
Well, thank you, Miss Robin. It's lovely to be here with you.
I'm so glad. And like I said, I really can't wait to hear about this. So let's just jump right in and start right away. I mean, I read your kind of official introduction bio. Why don't you tell us in your own words a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So I've been a professional coach and hypnotherapist now for over 20 years. And prior to that, I was a graphic designer and creative director in the web development world. And my previous career, I ended up getting bullied out of my position 20 plus years ago. And it was really devastating to me, Robin. It really shattered my confidence, created a massive case of imposter syndrome for me, and left me a deer in the headlights. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Because I was so afraid of being judged and being rejected, having been bullied by folks that I had hired for my own team. And it led me to coaching to help me figure out what to do next in my career. And in the process of being coached, it was like all the cells in my body came into alignment and my spirit was like, yes, this, not that, look over here. So ultimately I ended up changing careers, getting trained and certified, and started my own company because that felt less daunting and scary than to go hand my resume to anybody at that point in time. So I've been a learning junkie over these last 20 years and really love learning about what makes people tick, what makes our brains behave the way they behave, and why do some people have confidence and other people don't, right? And along that path, I discovered a really powerful tool called Rapid Transformational Therapy. And it's a form of hypnotherapy that allows me to access your subconscious mind, which is 90% of your brain power, and get at the root causes of what creates that self-doubt, of what creates that lack of confidence, fears, phobias, even physical manifestations of those beliefs that we hold about ourselves. And we're able to literally rewire your brain, building new neural pathways so you can find a new perspective to hold about yourself, which has this ripple effect all throughout your life. It's really, really fascinating. And I just love what I do.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. And I hear the passion in your voice. But before I say more about that, do you have an example of someone whose brain was rewired, so to speak, where you saw the transformation from before until after?
Oh, I've got gobs of stories. Let's see. I'll share with you one somewhat recently. A gentleman I worked with longtime successful professional in the insurance industry. Even though he'd been doing what he does for 30 years, he was suffering from severe anxiety. It was waking him up in the middle of the night. It was creating a lot of procrastination. And as a VP in his industry, that's not a good look, right? And he came to me kind of like, I don't know what else to do. I hope you can help me. And so I typically work with folks over 90 days. And in those 90 days, we're able to get at the root causes of those beliefs that was creating that panic and fear, which was impacting his health, was impacting his work, was impacting his relationships. And he said to me, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mom, but I've dealt with that. She's been gone now for 10 years and I've forgiven her and I've moved on. I'm like, okay, right. And after one of our sessions, it was really powerful for him. I always ask my clients after they come out of hypnosis, I'm like, so were you surprised by any of the things that came up today? And he's a very typically kind of dry kind of guy. And he cracks this little smile and he goes, yeah, then it all comes back to my mom. I was like, yep, 9 times out of 10, it does. It comes back to some family member that instilled these beliefs that we've been holding in our subconscious. And what it did for him was it helped him really put to rest some of the abuse that he had suffered as a child and find a much deeper place of forgiveness. But also he was able to release that old energy that had been pent up in his body that was coming up as this anxiety. And it shifted his perspectives. He wasn't anxious anymore. He got back into exercising regularly and playing his ukulele again and being involved in his community. And it's just really beautiful to watch someone go through this kind of transformation in a very short period of time, relatively speaking, given how long this thing's been buried, right? Decades.
Yeah.
So it's very transformative work. It's very deep work, but it's not like I'm asking anyone to relive those horrible moments or bad moments, but we're just getting at the root causes of them so that you're literally building new neural pathways in your brain around it. Like it's like swapping out the 8-track tape, if you want. We want to date ourselves here for a minute, right? It's really fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. And I can only imagine how rewarding it must be for you to see those kinds of transformations right before your eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that
absolutely.
kind of healing. And speaking of healing, tell me again about the title of your book and a little bit about the book.
Sure. It's called Breakthrough Healing. It's written by 7 different authors, and we're each taking a different perspective on alternative healing modalities and the power of them versus mainstream medicine and big pharma. And I'm there talking about my rapid rewiring technique and how powerful the mind is. Our mind just wants to protect us from challenging situations, traumatic events, and it tends to, tuck things away in a nice, neat little box that you can put up on the shelf. But if you don't process that energy, it will come back in some way, shape, or form. One of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Henry Maudsley, who was a psychologist in the 1800s. And he said, emotions that cannot find their vent in tears will cause other organs to weep.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you think about any traumatic experience that you've been through, right, it leaves a mark, right? It leaves an emotional mark on you. And your amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in your brain, I call her Amy. Amy's a little lizard lady who lives in your limbic brain. She just wants to keep you safe.
I call her Miggy.
Miggy. Oh, okay. Nobody else I've talked to gave her name, so points to you. So Amy just wants to keep you safe, right? And if you come close to anything that resembles that previous traumatic event, Amy's like, oh, no, we're not going there. That's not safe. Look over there, squirrel, do the laundry, go have a snack. whatever it is to divert you from that thing. And it might be diverting you from a relationship or business success or career success to protect you. And so part of this work is changing Amy's marching orders, essentially, and rewiring that thinking, creating a new, different perspective, one that serves you and uplifts you versus tries to keep it stuffed in a box, which in the long term only comes back to bite you.
Yes, yes. And is all that work done on the subconscious level, or is the person consciously aware of going through the process?
There's both. So, for example, in my 90-day program, it's a combination of hypnotherapy sessions and coaching sessions. So the hypnotherapy gets at things at the subconscious level. That's where we start the rewiring, right? And I take all of the information that I've taken from them and then the intake calls and whatnot, and I weave it into a recording, a custom recording I make for them with each hypnotherapy session that is instilling new, empowering beliefs and habits and thoughts. Mix it with binaural beat music, so it's very relaxing. And you listen to it every night as you drift off to sleep for 30 days, because that repetition is what builds the new neural pathways. It's like the secret sauce, Robin, right? And then the coaching then amplifies that new learning as we put new goals and strategies into place at a conscious level. So we're really tag teaming things at a subconscious and a conscious level to create new beliefs and behaviors and attitudes that have this amazing ripple effect.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you use a combination of those methods. I could see how that could work together. And you were talking before and your passion was flowing through. So what can you tell us is the thing that you love the most? I'm imagining it's hard to pick one thing, but what's the one thing you love the most that really lights you up about the work you're doing?
Oh gosh, the thing that brings me so much joy and truly moves me to tears is when my clients have that aha moment and they finally get to the other side of that thing that's been blocking them sometimes for decades, and they can see it differently and they can let it go. And it gives them this place of freedom that they've never experienced before. I have a handwritten note on my wall from one client who came to me with an eating disorder. Very successful woman, beautiful, top of her field in technology. And originally she was like, I don't know about this stuff. Wow. Kind of like very much of a prove it attitude. And she finally was like, okay, I'll try it. She's like, I tried everything. Never been able to get rid of this. 50 years in the making. I'm like, okay. And 30 days after our work together, she sent me this. She said, even though our time together was short, I'm so grateful for the impact you've had on my life. You changed my life. Thank you so much. And she was able to understand why she had created this eating disorder and basically turn it off. And she's like, I've lost 2 dress sizes. I feel great. I'm the happiest I've ever been. You know, it's things like that that just make it all worthwhile. And it's beautiful to witness.
Yes, it sounds so meaningful to experience that. This podcast is for what I call high achieving women. I mean, there are men who are listening to, I know some listeners who say, who are men who say, I listen to the podcast, which excites me. I'm like, that's great. But what I say is I created the podcast for high achieving women. And by high achieving women, what I mean by that is women who are goal oriented, ambitious, professional, doing all the things. They typically support everyone in their personal life and are the supportive person in the professional life. And so I thought, who supports them? So I created a podcast and I thought I can bring other guests of high achieving women and others to come and share their experience. And it's a way to support. So given that definition of high achieving women, what's something from your experience you think a high achieving woman has a challenge with?
Oh gosh, having worked with umpteen of those women from all over the world, I see very commonly that even though they're successful, they've achieved a lot, there's still this underbelly of self-doubt. There's facets of imposter syndrome. I'm a fraud. Why should anyone listen to me? I'm not as smart as they think I am. I was lucky. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So they tend to discount themselves and their abilities and their expertise in different ways, shapes, and forms. And underneath that, it boils down to what I found typically one of 5 self-doubt archetypes, right? I've identified them as the fearful follower, the reluctant resistor, the anxious avoider, the procrastinating perfectionist, and the shapeshifter. And these different facets of self-doubt often manifest because of our own life experiences and the things that we've learned along our journey, right? I found that you might have one or two that are your predominant self-doubt archetypes, much like the love languages, right? Mm-hmm. We all have all 5 of them, but there's usually one or two that is the forward foot, if you will. So it's that underbelly of self-doubt that has them kind of not fully shine. They hide out a little bit because of these different faces of self-doubt, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the 5 categories that you just gave to us is very interesting and fascinating. I'm thinking right now there's somebody listening thinking, ooh, I want to hear more about those, but we can talk about that later. But given those who are like listening now, they might be out walking or in the middle of doing something. What's something that, and think about that high achieving woman, what's something she could take away today if she falls into any of those 5 or just any of the challenges of high achieving? What's some word of advice or a tip or wisdom you'd like to share with her as she's going about her day right now?
Sure. Probably the most important thing, the simplest thing, is just to remind yourself, I am enough. I do enough. I be enough in the world, right? You're doing your best every single day. And sometimes that looks great. And sometimes that's a hot mess. But in that day, that's the best you can do. So reminding yourself that I am enough. Rinse, repeat, like write it on sticky notes, put it on your mirror, put it on your phone, put it on your desk. Because the more you tell yourself that, the more it sinks in and drops into that deeper subconscious level. And when you start to recognize that at that deeper level, oh, I am enough. What was it that made me feel that way? I don't even know. But somewhere I decided that I wasn't enough. I wasn't worthy or deserving or lovable enough, whatever form that might take for you. And when you can flip that script, it's very empowering. It has you stand up a little straighter and put your shoulders back and smile a little as you stand more confidently in who you are authentically without the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. You know?
Yes. I am enough. I am enough. I'm imagining the chorus of people right now saying, I am enough. And, I chuckle while saying that, but I know it's true. Use those words and that they do matter. All right. So now I just want to go back to how you got to this work. You started out in the beginning of our conversation talking about how you were bullied and that kind of led you to this. In your process of moving from that situation, was there a time when your passion showed up in some way and guided you in some way? I'm always interested in the role of passion. What got you from that to this and passion?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, getting bullied out of my job was devastating. It really, really was devastating. And the irony is I had studied psychology in school. And then literally my last semester as a senior, I freaked out like, I can't get a job with a degree in psychology. I should change my major. Yeah, that's a good idea. Right. So I changed my major to advertising because I thought, well, advertising uses psychology. Right. And I had this dormant artist thing in me. So like I'm a painter and a graphic designer and all these things. But when that incident happened, it was compounded by the day I went home after getting laid off, calling my mom, telling her about my bad day. And my mom pretty quickly changed the subject to let me know that, oh, by the way, our friend over here is dying. of AIDS. So it was an instant shift, like, oh crap. Okay. So what? I lost my job today. My friend is dying, a very dear friend of the family. And a week later, my dad called me to wake me up to tell me that he had passed away because he had refused the cocktail of drugs that would have helped save his life, because he was living from a place of fear, Robin. He was too afraid to be a gay man in a small town. And so he allowed himself to die. And in that moment, I swore to myself and to him and to my higher power that, okay, I can't live from a place of fear. I better put my big girl panties on and figure out what I'm going to do and get on with doing it. And it was a very pivotal moment for me to go, okay, well, if not that, then what? What do I do now? And how do I want that to look? And coaching kind of came to me, and it was, in hindsight, I can see it was very divinely guided for me. And it's kind of unfolded in a good way ever since then. So because of all of that, I've always been very passionate about this work of helping others not have to hit that brick wall, not have to get bullied out of their job, because they learn how to own their voice and stand in their confidence and find their true authentic path versus doing a job because I think they just have to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Michele, I know you're doing some really important work in the world with helping people with their self-doubt and fear and anxiety and all the things. And my guess is people right now are saying, how can I hear more? How can I be in touch with Michele? And for those who are saying that, how can they hear more, be in touch with you, or get more from you?
Sure, absolutely. So you can always visit michelemolitor.com. That's Michele with one L, MOLITOR.com. You can always book a complimentary and confidential one-to-one discovery call with me if you want to learn more. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. And yeah, I'm welcome anybody who wants to chat or just become part of my community. I'm always giving away all sorts of wonderful tips and articles and recordings and all sorts of good things. So
yeah, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. And I'll be sure to put those in the show notes too, so people can have those there. And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day and your schedule, and especially all that's been going on with you recently. I appreciate you for being here today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really glad I could be here with you.
Me too. Okay, everyone, if you want to hear more from me, you can reach me at my website, robinlowens.com, robinlowens.com, or on social media. Pick your favorite social media and you'll find me at Robin L. Owens, PhD, Robin L. Owens, PhD. And I'd love to hear from you and get a message from you. Robin L. Owens, PhD. Okay, until next time, everyone, this is Dr. Robin. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. If you enjoyed it, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Meanwhile, this is Robin signing off. See you next time.